Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today I will talk how renewable energy is developed in post-war Ukraine. Based on an article published in International Journal of Energy Economics and Policy. The work is titled Ukraine's Bioenergy Sector Trends and Perspectives for the Post-War Clean Energy Transition. The work is made under the Sumy State University group under the leadership of Professor Sotnik and Kubatova, but is placed at Sumy University in Geneva, Warsaw, and other institutions. And the work is talking about landfilling, biogas, energy policy. The paper investigated trends in bioenergy in Ukraine and its role in the green energy transition in the post-war period. The focus of the article is on the use of bioenergy resources for electricity generation, heat energy, bioliquid biofuel, and biochemistry. In this context, the potential of biomass, state support mechanisms, the results of their influence on bioenergy capacities, deployment, and the barriers restraining this sector for development are considered. In recent years, there have been clear global trends regarding the transformation of the global energy sector. The governments of most countries of the world have developed and are successfully implementing the strategies towards achieving sustainable development goals. Ukraine also didn't remain aloof from global trends, having declared the renewable energy development vector. Thus, according to share of green energy in the country's total energy consumption is expected to increase to 25% in 2035. And in turn, by 2030, it is planned to increase the share of green electricity to 27% in the electric sector, 35% in the heating and cooling sector, and 14% in the transport one. The development government implemented state support mechanisms to encourage green energy production to achieve the above-mentioned goals, contributing to renewable energy sector development. The share of green electricity in the total power mix was 8.3%. The share of heat energy from renewable energy resources in the total heat energy mix was 8.6%, and the share of clean energy in the total energy was 6.9% in 2022. Thus, in the electricity sector, as the end of 2020, green electricity was generated by solar and wind power plants. The indicator of clean energy was achieved mainly at the expense of traditional biomass. The contribution of modern biomass and liquid biofuels to the total energy mix remains extremely low. Insufficient use of the energy resources potential, which, according to the bioenergy, amounts 23%, 23% by 2021. The lack of energy storage leads to need of partially limit wind generation to ensure its operational safety energy system. Thus, it can be argued that today that today the installed capacity of solar wind power plants has reached certain plateau effect. In turn, precise feasibility by energy plants development the generation of electricity based on which is stable as it doesn't depend on the time of day weather conditions. The involvement of biomass in the heat energy sector is highly relevant, since more than half energy consumption in Ukraine is heat energy, and biomass is the most suitable for heat production in the region. Furthermore, bioenergy resources are of great interest in liquid biofuels production to replace the import petroleum products. Bioenergy development becomes especially relevant against the background of Russian military aggression and its impact on the Ukraine sector. On the other hand, the Russian aggression against Ukraine emphasized another shortcoming of the state policy in the renewable energy field, namely the lack of regulation of the geographical location of generating capacities. Focusing installation of renewable power plants, particularly solar and wind, in regions with the most attractive climate has led to the significant losses due to the Russian military intervention. Thus, Ukraine lost 36% of installed solar wind and solar and wind capacities as to 2022. In just in only Crimea at 2020 lost 90% of wind and 30% of solar power plant located in southeastern regions of Ukraine, with the best potential for using. Given the bioenergy resources are mainly distributed evenly, focusing attention on the development of bioenergy potential is the post-war period allow, among the others, to reduce influence of geopolitical factors on the renewable energy development. The analysis results will be basis of a SWOT analysis which will be used to form strategic recommendation for developing bioenergy. The SWOT analysis is solar the calculation of what is the potential of the best, and the data were case from as literature from database from 2012 to 2023. This work was according the design and innovative model of balanced agricultural development of bioenergy, which help in Ukraine to reach expected economical and socio-economical logical results, identifying bioenergy as an integral part of the energy security is designed for Ukraine. The development was compared with China, Germany, US. The cluster approach is most feasible for bioenergy in Ukraine. Design econometric models for Ukraine's of bioethanol market and biofuel exchange, development and implementation. The bioenergy and waste energy sector of circular economy was built in Ukraine. The Ukrainian renewable energy markets currently were regulated by proper governmental documents. One of the most promising direction of bioenergy is using agriculture biomass potential, can be conditionally divided into three groups: primary as byproducts of crop production, straw, sunflower stalks, corn, obtained during the processing of agricultural products, pulp cake, and farm and animal manure. The prospective direction of bioenergy development are determined by the leading place of agriculture. It is worth noting that the land fund of Ukraine includes 42 million hectares of agricultural land, when 90% is arable land. As a result, they can produce even 9.4 megatons of waste per year, and this can be and result in energy of needed. The most common types of biomass to produce heat energy are following: straw, coal, sunflower husks, and other waste from processing of sunflower, grain, wood waste, agricultural and poultry waste, vegetable waste, and significant amount of accumulated solid household waste in Ukraine and lack of effective measures to prevent the generation and recycling lead to the deterioration of the environment and the loss of significant economic benefits. Therefore, the collection and utilization of biogas, which is formed in the anaerobic fermentation of biodegradable waste and is further conversion to electricity, can be considered a practical approach to solving the above problems. The main source of biomass is forest, which occupies 16% of its territory. Even though the number of forests is relatively slow, there is annual increase by 17% of available volume. This advantage of solid biomass is low sulfur content, the possibility of avoiding emission of nitrogen oxides when burned at low temperatures makes biomass environmentally friendly type of fuel compared to fossil fuels. Rational use of biomass, which is renewable type of fuel, but in enough proportions. In the main component of energy potential of solid biomass is agriculture waste. And this is significant as cereal waste and indicated that biofuels play primary role from animal fats and algae as well as electricity and renewable biomethane. The practical use of raw materials such as vegetable oils or animal fats remains in question mainly due to the lack of established economic ties. In particular, grain for production biomethanol, the significant potential ambitious goals can be obtained. With war at outbreak, Russian army destroyed Ukrainian oil refineries and forced Ukraine for becoming net importer of oil products. Additionally, Navy, Russian Navy and Air Force blocked most of Ukraine imports. Ukraine lost of ability of export grain. It should be noted that before the war, Ukraine exported 60 billion tons of grain annually and exported, which was 70.5 corn. With the seaports blockade, exports a maximum of 2 billion tons per month, which equals 24 billion tons per year. So one third of potential. 23 million of tons of grain, even low content starch, could yield to 8.3 billion liters of ethanol, and with weak content starch yields. It is usually the case that wheat and barley and can yield even 70% is to support with 1 tons can be lead to 420 of ethanol, so more. And the density of 8.2 liters consumed 1.77 petrols in the war period. The procedure of stimulated or generation electricity for biomass exclusively with the help of fixed tariffs were affected until the war. Support-based interaction system results in carried out by guaranteeing the purchase of the entire volume of generated electricity in the auction price. The law of Ukraine provided a one-stage closed action model. According to it, auction participants must submit a technical proposal containing the amount of capacity of the biomass power plant from which the business entity intends to acquire the right of the support. A proposal that reflects an auction price for the sale of 1 kilowatts of electricity generated by the biomass power plant for which the business entity intends to acquire the rights to support. Within 33 years after winning the auction, the winner must put the biomass power plant into operation. The state guarantees the purchase of entire electricity amount generated by such plant as at a price determined by auction results within 20 years from its commissioning. The main disadvantage of auction is risk of investor refusal of implement renewable energy. The low auction price. Due to 100% electrification of Ukraine from very beginning, the implementing of motivational mechanism for the bioenergy sector, the government preference was given to the electricity of production from biomass. The granting of status priority to investment projects for the transfer of consumers from natural gases to energy type of energy, including biomass, simplification of the procedure for transfer concession, lease and lifting of the ban of privatization of heat energy, and simplification the land acquisition procedure for the heat, facilitating using fuel other than natural gas, introducing changes to the law of Ukraine regarding the transition to alternative fuel types. The Regulatory Act provided an established share of liquid biofuel quota at least 5% and control of contents of biocomponents and non-compliance with quotas business entities engaged in the production. The full military scale of invasion Russia was destroyed this because they distrust tariffs, the excise duty rate of alternative motor fuel tax duty applies to button for button change. Thus, in the current state, the policy regarding the liquid biofuels is fragmentary. With the beginning of the war became importer of fuel, it is expected to increase interest in liquid biofuels, which may lead to radical revision of state support for the industry. In this light, development of innovation-driven models like ecosystem can facilitate transition toward high environmental efficiency and digital affinity. This mention was achieved through biofuels and electricity from renewables, road, vehicles, and railways, whereas 35% is remainder of electricity. A particular share of biofuel wasn't taken into account as those are non-compliant biofuels. Russian military intervention, which negatively affects Ukraine's investment climate, deepens the economic crisis and leads to direct losses in the bioenergy sector. According to the European Ukrainian Energy Agency, 29% of biogas plants and 48% of biogas generating capacities from the total number are located in the occupied territories in the area of active hostilities. The need of significant initial investment for the construction of bioenergy facilities. Currently in Ukraine, there is no available long-term crediting for bioenergy investments, which would allow the investor to attract financial resources on acceptable price. Key barriers to involve the involvement of agricultural waste in electricity includes includes in the insufficient number of large farms capable independently providing the necessary volumes of animal waste to operate profitable runs, biogas plants. In the worth nothing that almost half of the farm animals in Ukraine are kept in private households and small. Therefore, the construction of profitable biogas plant is possibly under taking consideration this cooperation and the absence of strict environmental requirements that could serve as incentive for effective utilization of agricultural waste through its anaerobic fermentation biogas plants. The main challenge that prevent development of power plants based on landfill biogas include the morphological composition of municipal solid waste and landfills, which, due to the lack of sorting, includes large amount of non-biodegradable garbage. The absence of environmental requirements that would promote effectively collection and utilization of landfill biogas to reduce negative impact on the environment. Lack of state stimulation of the cultivation energy crops, the absence of ban on the burning fertilizer, they need to pay tax on carbon emission when burning solid biomass for electricity generation. A small share of realization potential for heat is spread by many barriers, limitation, key moments, lack of adequate economic mechanisms, lack of equipment, the complexity of organizing procurement channel, limited access to heat networks. Most of energy crops are still not classified agriculture due to war. State forest farms don't have sufficient equipment and motivation to significantly increase collection of wood biomass. Several government decisions adopted in 2014 were unfavorable for investing in bioenergy, in particular cancellation of value-added tax for the sale of certain biomass, including firewoods, chips, pellets, and briquettes. The barriers are needed for reduction are lack of blend demand and the requirement to increase consumption, followed by the requirements of maximum carbon dioxide. Both are proved in the first hearing but never reached the second hearing adoption. The draft envisaged 5% content of ethanol in the petrol, the limited number of entities allowed to blend biofuels. Unsynchronized targets for biofuels has to be 20%. Is alternative in nationally synchronized, a limited number of laboratory certified for clarification biofuels, especially world. The lack of biodemand stimulation for biofuels is other problem. And conclusion for Ukraine, bioenergy is one of the strategic directions for the renewable energy sector development. Consider country high dependence. From 2009, the government began forming state policy for supporting renewable energy and green technologies development. In the absence of bioenergy resources involvement in sector is heat, liquids, and water, these stages are retarded, and however the enormous efforts, but these are unfavorable due to no to military proposals, the limitation of study uncertainty of biogas and bioenergy due to ongoing hostilities on this territory, reliable complete information of actual damage and destruction of bioenergy capacity in occupied regions is unavailable. Due to uncertainty of what and the formation of the state incentives for bioenergy is in question. So thank you very much for listening to me.